John F. Kennedy International Airport at 2 a.m. is a different world. No longer the bustling hub of human transit. It transforms into a hazy, dreamlike space. A silent buffer between journeys, fluorescent lights cast long. Weary shadows across the polished granite floor. The air is thick with the scent of disinfectant and stale coffee. For Elena Voss, this is a familiar earthly purgatory. She sat in her glass booth, the custom stamp lying idle beside her slender fingers. 34 years old, but the dark circles under her eyes made her look older. The computer screen cast a pale blue glow on her expressionless face. Each thud of the stamp on a passport was another monotonous note in the symphony of boredom, but tonight, the silence felt different. It crept under her skin. Sharp and cold like a winter breeze, Elena shivered, her gaze drifting toward the row of elevators at the end of the concourse. Their polished metal surfaces reflected a distorted version of herself. Thud. Memory surged unbidden, a fragment from 24 years ago. Elena was 10. Her small hand gripping her 6-year-old sister, Anna. They were playing hide-and-seek near an elevator. Anna giggled, her golden hair shimmering like sunlight as she darted toward the metal doors. "Find me, sis," she called, pressing the button as the doors began to close. Anna waved. In a horrifying moment, Anna's reflection in the elevator's mirror blurred, dissolving like ink in water before the doors fully shut. When they reopened, the elevator was empty. Anna was gone. Elena shook her head, banishing the haunting image, the fear of mirrors, the fear of empty spaces. That was Anna's legacy to her. "Next," she called. Forcing her voice not to tremble, a woman approached. She was suspiciously ordinary black coat, dark hair obscuring most of her face, but a deadly stillness surrounded her. A silence that drained all sound. The woman slid a passport to the glass slot. Elena picked it up. Its cover was an odd black, unlike any nation she'd seen. The texture was rough, ice cold. In the center was an incomprehensible symbol. A cracked eye. She opened it. The top line read, "Republic of Torenza." Elena frowned. "Torenza? I've never heard of this country." The woman looked up. Her eyes were empty, emotionless, yet seemed to pierce Elena's soul. A faint smile curled her lips. "It's where mirrors don't reflect the truth. Ma'am, this country doesn't exist," Elena said, her voice sharpening. "Please tell me where you're actually from." "From a place you'll soon forget," the woman replied, her voice a whisper echoing from a distant void. A chill ran down Elena's spine. She pressed the security button. "Please proceed to the waiting room. We need to verify some information." 2 burly security officers escorted the woman away. She didn't resist, walking silently, her shadow stretching long across the floor before disappearing through a door. She turned to look at Elena for a split second. Elena swore the woman's eyes flashed a stark white. Half an hour later, the phone rang. It was one of the security officers. His voice panicked. "Voss, get to holding room 3 now. Something's wrong." Elena rushed over. The holding room was a stark concrete box with a metal chair and a large one-way mirror. The officer stood outside, his face ashen. "Where is she?" Elena asked. "Gone. Just gone." Elena peered through the glass. The room was empty, but on the floor, where the woman had sat, was a pool of black viscous liquid, like crude oil. It writhed. Black tendrils squirmed, crawling like a massive repulsive worms. A burnt smell, like molten plastic, stung her nose. In the one-way mirror, Elena glimpsed a dark shape flit behind her, a vague outline of the Torenza woman. Her heart leapt. She spun around. No one was there, caught off guard. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. A morbid curiosity overpowered her fear. She knelt, hesitantly reaching toward the black liquid. The moment her fingertip touched it, an icy cold surged through her. As if thousands of needles pierced her veins, the liquid suddenly contracted, retreating into the concrete floor and vanishing. Leaving a faint scorched mark, Elena yanked her hand back. Gasping, her fingertip was numb that night. She returned home in a state of utter panic. Her apartment was eerily silent. She locked the door, but the feeling of being watched lingered. The Torenza passport sat on her kitchen table, where she'd forgotten it, an absurd object in her real world. She picked it up. This time, she heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper emanating from the passport. Anna. Her hand trembled. She flipped to the personal information page. The mysterious woman's photo was gone. In its place was an old yellowed picture. It was Anna, smiling innocently, her eyes clear and bright. Elena dropped the passport. It hit the floor, opening to the photo page. The whisper grew clearer. Sis, save me. Elena backed away, her back hitting the wall. She ran to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and splashed cold water on her face. Trying to calm herself, it was just a hallucination. Fatigue, stress, yes, that was it. She looked up into the mirror and screamed in the reflection. Her image stared back. But its eyes weren't her brown ones. They were stark white, milky, and opaque. The white of the void, the curse, had begun. The weak morning sunlight filtered through the apartment's curtains. But Elena Voss still felt the darkness from the previous night clinging to her, like a cold fog enveloping her mind. Her hand was bandaged roughly after punching the mirror. The blood had stopped, but the throbbing pain reminded her of that terrifying moment. The stark white eyes reflected in the shattered glass. The Torenza passport lay on the table like a living entity, and Elena didn't dare touch it again. The whispers from it echoed in her mind, repeating Anna's name, making sleep a luxury. She picked up her phone and dialed Harlan Reed, a college friend, now a psychologist specializing in hallucinations and strange phenomena. Harlan was considered eccentric in academic circles, but Elena knew he was the only one who might understand what she was experiencing. Harlan agreed to meet immediately, his voice over the phone tinged with concern and curiosity. His office was in an old building near central Manhattan, with shelves overflowing with documents on urban legends and theories of alternate dimensions. When Elena entered, the musty air made her shiver, a mix of old paper and stale coffee. Harlan, with disheveled silver hair and thick-rimmed glasses, stood to greet her, his eyes gleaming with intrigue. "Elena, it's been a while. You don't look well. Sit down, tell me everything." She sat on an old leather chair, her hands clasped tightly to stay calm. Elena recounted everything, from the moment Mira appeared at the customs counter, the strange passport, to how her body melted into a black pool, and finally, Anna's photo in the book. Harlan listened intently, occasionally jotting notes, his face growing serious. "Torenza," he repeated, his voice low. "Sounds familiar, like the legend of the man from Tord, a guy who showed up at Haneda Airport in Tokyo in the 1950s with a passport from Tord, a country supposedly between France and Spain. He spoke a strange language, had his own maps, then vanished without a trace. Some call it a collective hallucination or a crack in reality." Elena nodded, her heart racing. "I touched that black substance. Harlan, and now I hear whispers calling Anna's name like. The curse is spreading. Harlan stood, opened his laptop and searched quickly. You're not the only one. There's a viral video online, eerily similar to your story. Let me show you. He turned the screen toward her, clicking a post on X's short video from an account with the caption, Woman from Torenza vanishes at JFK? Non-existent country. Hashtag Torenza, hashtag mystery. The video showed a woman strikingly similar to Mira presenting a passport at a customs counter. An AI-generated voice narrated. She arrived from Tokyo, but her passport was from Torenza, a place not on any map. When questioned, she whispered, "This isn't my world," then vanished from the holding room, the footage distorted. And the woman dissolved, leaving a black stain on the floor. Elena felt a chill. The video mirrored her experience but was edited smoothly, like a mockumentary. Harlan continued. This video went viral early October, millions of views on TikTok and X. Some say it's an AI-generated hoax, inspired by Tord. But you saw it firsthand. Maybe it's not a coincidence. He paused, looking at Elena deeply. I've studied similar cases, my mother. She vanished at an airport when I was young, no trace, just a shattered mirror. It's why I pursue this field, she nodded, sharing more about Anna, the guilt of not holding her sister's hand tighter. Harlan comforted her, but his eyes betrayed worry. Be careful. If this is a contagious hallucination, it could spread. Don't tell anyone else. But Elena was too late. On her way back to the airport for her afternoon shift, she called Lila, her best friend and colleague, always eager for her odd stories. Lila, you won't believe this. Last night a woman, Torenza, she vanished right in front of me. Lila chuckled over the phone. Sounds like a horror movie. Show me the passport. I'm at the airport. When Elena arrived, Lila was waiting in the staff lounge. Eyes curious, she handed her the passport, and Lila flipped through it, laughing. This is wild. Like that viral video I saw on X yesterday. But as Lila touched the hologram, her face changed, her skin cracked faintly, like fractured glass, and a drop of black liquid seeped from the cracks. Elena panicked. Lila, drop it. Layla looked up, her eyes flashing white briefly before returning to normal. I hear whispers, someone's name, Anna. Elena snatched the passport, but it was too late. The curse had spread. That afternoon, Elena tried to focus on work, but the airport felt different. The long corridors were filled with moving shadows in her peripheral vision, and heavy breathing echoed behind her. Stepping into a glass elevator, she saw her reflection, and then Anna appeared in the mirror. Her little sister, smiling broadly, waving. Sis, save me from the void. Elena spun around, but the elevator was empty. Her heart pounded, and when the doors opened, she stumbled out, colliding with Lila waiting outside. Elena, I'm not okay. I saw the mirror. And whispers. Lila collapsed, whispering, Torenza. Torenza calls me. Elena knelt beside her, hands trembling as she called for help, but deep down, she knew this wasn't ordinary illness. The curse was spreading, and the airport, once her safe haven, was now a terrifying maze. Harlan had warned her, but now what? She needed to dig deeper, perhaps into JFK's archives, where old secrets awaited. Outside, the sunset stained the airport red. But the real darkness was just beginning. The fiery sunset painted the massive glass windows of JFK Airport. But to Elena Voss, everything seemed to sink into a deep, inescapable darkness. The wail of sirens echoed from the corridor where Layla had been taken away on a stretcher. Her face pale, eyes vacant as if staring into another world. Elena stood frozen by the elevator doors, clutching the Torenza passport, its icy chill seeping through her fingers, as if it were alive and whispering malevolent words into her mind. The call of Anna repeated in her head, each echo gnawing at her memories of her sister. Piece by piece, Elena couldn't stay at the airport any longer. The once familiar space now felt warped, as if the walls were bending, corridors stretching endlessly, and mirrors on the walls seemed to watch her with invisible eyes. She left her shift early, citing health reasons, and drove straight to Harlan Reed's office, carrying the passport and the terror screaming within her. On the way, she tried calling Leela, but got only a hollow ring. Then a brief text from a colleague, "Layla's missing." No one saw her leave the hospital. Harlan was waiting in his office, the dim light from an old desk lamp casting deep wrinkles across his face, a testament to years haunted by unsolved mysteries. "Elena," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Have you told anyone else? This curse, it spreads through contact, through words. You can't let it touch others." Elena shook her head. But the truth made her tremble. She'd told Lila. And now her friend was gone, like Anna, like Mira. Harlan led her to the basement, where he kept a personal archive, a stifling room filled with metal shelves stacked with documents, photos, and evidence from bizarre disappearances. "I've been tracking cases like this since my mother vanished," he explained, pulling out an old file box. Inside were reports of vanishings at airports worldwide, Tokyo, London, Bangkok. All shared a common thread: passengers with passports from non-existent countries like Tord, Zelther, and now Torenza. "These people don't just vanish," Harlan said, his voice trembling. "They leave traces, black scorch marks, whispers, and sometimes memories that aren't ours." Elena placed the Torenza passport on the table, and Harlan put on gloves before touching it. He flipped through it, his eyes narrowing at the distorted city hologram. "You said Anna's photo was in here?" he asked. Elena nodded, pointing to the page, but her heart sank. The photo was gone. In its place, a black stain smeared the paper, as if someone had spilled ink. Harlan stepped back, muttering, "It's moving. This curse isn't just supernatural, Elena. It's sentient." They decided to check JFK's storage archives, where lost items were kept. Harlan suspected there might be more traces of Torenza. When they arrived, night had fallen, and the airport was as silent as a graveyard. The storage archive was a basement maze of metal shelves filled with suitcases, bags, and unclaimed passports. Under flickering neon lights, Elena felt the air grow heavy, as if the darkness itself were breathing. They found a drawer containing dozens of passports, all bearing Torenza's flag, a shattered mirror with black shards. "My God," Harlan whispered, "what are we dealing with?" Suddenly, a screech echoed from a corner, like glass being torn apart. Elena turned, heart pounding, and saw a large mirror on the wall, one she was certain wasn't there before. In it, the reflection wasn't hers or Harlan's, but distorted versions. Elena with white eyes, Harlan's face melting like wax. She screamed, stepping back. But Harlan grabbed her hand. "Don't look. It wants to pull you in." But it was too late. A black shape rose from the mirror, formless, just a massive liquid black crawling across the floor like worms. It touched Harlan's leg, and he fell, screaming as his face cracked, oozing black. "Elena, run!" He yelled before his body was dragged into the mirror. Vanishing in a horrific crack, Elena fled the storage room. Her heart racing, she ran through the airport corridors. But every turn led to a new mirror. As if they were multiplying in a moment of panic, she saw herself in one not herself, but an Elena with Mayra's smile. A voice echoing from the void. "You've seen Torenza, haven't you? You've seen home." She slammed her hand against the mirror, but it didn't break, only rippled like water, and the whispers rose again. "Anna, save me." Back at her apartment, it was late. She locked the door. But the feeling of being watched didn't fade. Her phone buzzed a text from Harlan, impossible since he'd vanished. It read, "Don't trust mirrors, find the group on the dark web. They know Torenza." Elena trembled, realizing her journey had only begun. The airport, once her safe place, was now a gateway to the void. And the curse was crawling upward, not just in her mind, but into the world beyond. Elena Voss huddled in her small apartment, the dim light from a desk lamp casting shadows on the shards of broken mirror left from the bathroom. Anna's whispers, or something impersonating her sister, still echoed in her mind, a haunting lullaby repeating endlessly. The Torenza passport lay on the table, its hologram glinting under the light, as if the distorted glass city inside were alive, breathing. Harlan's message, or whoever sent it, still glowed on her phone screen. "Don't trust mirrors. Find the group on the dark web. They know Torenza." Elena took a deep breath, suppressing the fear, knowing that her nerves. Harlan was gone, Lila too. And she knew the curse was spreading, not just through her, but through those she'd touched. She opened her laptop, hands trembling as she accessed a hidden dark web forum Harlan had mentioned in past conversations. After navigating layers of encryption, she found a group called the Void Seekers, a small community of hackers, journalists, and paranormal researchers hunting phenomena tied to invisible dimensions. Elena sent a brief message recounting Mayra, the Torenza passport, and what happened to Harlan and Layla minutes later. An invitation to an online meeting popped up, with the note, "We've been waiting for someone like you." The meeting took place in an encrypted chat room, with 4 members appearing via blurry webcams, their faces hidden behind digital filters. The leader, calling himself Reyes, was a priest with a deep voice and piercing eyes. Beside him was Mia, a young hacker with dyed green hair, and Tom, an investigative journalist with a half smile. The last, a shadowy figure, was simply Watcher. Reyes spoke first, his voice a warning. "Ms. Voss, if what you say is true, the Torenza curse has chosen you. It's not just supernatural, it's a living entity, feeding on memories to survive. People like Mayra aren't human. They're its manifestations sent to spread it." Elena recounted everything, from Mayra's vanishing to the hallucination of Anna in the elevator mirror. Mia interrupted, voice urgent. "I hacked JFK's database. There are dozens of Torenza passports stored since the 1970s. But they're hidden. They're not paper, they're gateways." Tom nodded, adding, "I investigated a similar case in London. 1992, a child from Zelther vanished, leaving a black stain. The government covered it up. But I have proof." Watcher, silent until now, sent a text. "Don't touch the passport anymore. It's watching you." The warning sent a shiver through Elena. She glanced at the passport on the table, and for a moment, the hologram seemed to move, its glass towers writhing like snakes. Then, without warning, a strange memory flooded her mind. She saw herself in a city of mirrors, streets paved with glass reflecting countless versions of herself, each smiling with white eyes. A voice not hers spoke. "This is Torenza." "You're home," Elena jolted, dropping her laptop when she picked it up. The group was still talking, but Rhea's voice trembled. "What did you see, Voss?" "False memories are the first sign." They arranged to meet in person the next day at an abandoned warehouse outside New York, where the group kept Torenza-related documents and artifacts. But that night, Elena couldn't sleep. She avoided every mirror in her home, but the feeling of being watched persisted. As she stepped into the kitchen for water, a screech came from the living room. She turned, heart pounding, and saw the passport open on the table. Though she was sure she'd closed it, black liquid seeped from the hologram, crawling across the table like living hair, forming a distorted face. "Anna," it whispered in her sister's voice. Elena fled her apartment, taking the passport and laptop. Drive into the warehouse as directed. When she arrived, it was pitch dark, the warehouse looming like a ghostly silhouette under the moonlight. Reyes, Mia, and Tom were waiting, but Watcher didn't show. The air inside was heavy, smelling of metal and mold. They led her to a corner where a metal box held dozens of Torenza items, necklaces, watches, and glinting shards of broken glass. "These are what's left of the victims," Tom explained. "Each carries the curse." But before Elena could ask more, Mia screamed, pointing to a dark corner. A black shape rose from the floor, formless. Just a mass of liquid black moving like worms. It lunged at Mia, and before anyone could react, she fell, her body cracking like shattered porcelain. Black liquid oozed from her eyes, and she whispered, "It knows my name. It knows everything." Then, with a horrific screech, her body dissolved, leaving a scorched mark on the floor. Reyes and Tom panicked, but Elena stood frozen, realizing a horrifying truth. The curse didn't just spread through contact, it spread through memories. Through stories told. Reyes grabbed her hand, voice trembling. "We have to break it, Voss, but I fear." "One of us was infected long before." His eyes flicked to Tom, and Elena noticed his smile. It was identical to Myra's. The warehouse grew icy, and from the dark corners, whispers rose in unison. "Torenza! Torenza!" Elena knew they were being hunted, and the curse didn't just want memories, it wanted her soul. Cold moonlight illuminated the winding roads leading into the Alps, turning the landscape into a surreal black and white, painting where the boundary between reality and darkness seemed to dissolve. Elena Voss gripped the steering wheel tightly, her rented car trudging through treacherous curves. The mountain wind howling through the window, cracks like whispers from another world. After the horrific events at the warehouse, Mia vanishing before her eyes, Reyes and Tom fleeing in panic, Elena couldn't stay in New York. Reyes, in a trembling call, had directed her here, a small village at the foot of the Alps, where legends of Tord, Torenza's predecessor, were whispered in folklore. "It's a hotspot," Rhea said, "where reality's cracks open most frequently. If you want to understand Torenza, go there, but be careful. That village has been missing for decades." Elena didn't know what she was searching for, but the curse urged her forward. False memories of Torenza's glass city haunted her, looping endlessly in her dreams. She'd checked the Viral X video before leaving, still spreading rapidly with millions of views and comments. "Is this real? I saw someone like that in the Alps." Those comments chilled her, perhaps not coincidental. On the flight to Geneva, she avoided every mirror, but the feeling of being watched clung to her. as if Mira or something in her form was seated beside her. When Elena reached the village, a tiny place called Schattenberg, nestled among snow-capped peaks, it was late. The streets were empty, not a soul in sight. Only the wind whistling through old wooden houses with dark windows. She parked by the roadside, turned off the headlights, and stepped out, the freezing air piercing her coat and prickling her skin. The village was once a tourist spot, but as Reyes had said, it had vanished decades ago. Residents disappeared en masse, leaving only black scorch marks on floors and scattered broken mirrors. Elena held her flashlight, walking down the main street, its beam sweeping over faded bar signs and overgrown gardens. Everything was unnaturally still, as if the village were holding its breath, waiting. Then, a faint sound came from behind, dry leaves rustling. But not from the wind. Elena spun around, her flashlight illuminating the twisted bush, its branches curling like gnarled fingers. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice faltering in the wind. No answer, but from the darkness, a voice called her name. "Elena." "Save me." Anna's voice, clear and close, made her heart clench. She ran toward the sound, through a narrow alley to the village square. There, under the moonlight, was a dry fountain, surrounded by black scorch marks on the ground. As if acid had been poured on the stone, Elena knelt, touching a mark, and a numbing cold surged through her, identical to Myra's black pool. Suddenly, a figure lunged from the darkness, grabbing her shoulder. Elena screamed, swinging her flashlight like a weapon. But the stranger dodged, his voice low and urgent. "Stop! You shouldn't be here, this village. It's not safe." He was young, about 27, with messy black hair and deep, haunted eyes radiating exhaustion and despair. "I'm Kai," he said, his voice tinged with an odd accent, as if English wasn't his first language, from Torenza. You carry the curse, don't you? I can smell it on you." Elena stepped back, heart racing. But something in Kai made her trust him, perhaps the pain in his eyes, mirroring her own grief over Anna. They sat by the fountain under the moonlight, and Kai spoke. He was a survivor from Torenza, a dimension destroyed by the curse. "Torenza was once beautiful," he whispered, voice trembling, with cities of glass reflecting every memory. "But then the Void Wraiths came, formless shadows that feed on memories to survive. They destroyed everything, my family. They vanished before my eyes, one by one. I escaped through a crack to here, where the boundary is thinnest, but the curse follows me. It's eating me from within." Elena looked at Kai's hand, and under the flashlight, she saw his skin faintly cracking, oozing black. "You too," Kai said, staring at her deeply. "It's taking your memories." "Your sister, Anna?" "I hear her name in the wind." Elena nodded, tears streaming down for the first time. She felt less alone. Kai understood, having lost everything like she had. They shared fragmented memories, and Elena told him about Mira, the group, and what happened. Kai nodded. "Mira is a wraith, a manifestation of the curse. They sent her to spread it, but here, in the Alps, we can find a way to close the crack. I know a place. An ancient cave where Tord was born, but before they could move." A screech echoed from the surrounding forest. Trees began to writhe, branches reaching out like living arms. And from the darkness, black shapes rose. Void Wraiths, formless masses moving like smoke, whispering Elena and Kai's names. "Run!" Kai yelled, grabbing her hand and bolting into the forest. They ran through rough paths, the wind howling in pursuit. and Elena felt the black substance crawling under her feet. A wraith lunged, touching Kai's leg, and he fell, screaming as his skin began to melt. "Go, Elena. The cave's to the north." But she didn't abandon him. She pulled Kai up, and they ran on, the darkness close behind. When they escaped the forest, Kai collapsed, gasping. His skin was more cracked, part of his arm dissolving into black. "It's taking me," he whispered, voice weak. "But you must go on. Torenza isn't the end." Elena knelt beside him, heart full of empathy and resolve. She knew her journey was now not just to save Anna, but also people like Kai, but from the darkness. The whispers rose again, and Elena realized the curse wasn't just chasing her. It was calling her home. The haunted airport in New York seemed to await her return, and the Alps were merely a stepping stone to a greater nightmare. The faint dawn light filtered through the dense trees of the Alps, tinting the thin snow a pale pink, but Elena Voss felt no warmth. She sat beside Kai in a small cave near Schattenberg, where he'd led her after their escape from the Void Wraiths. The cave was ancient, its stone walls carved with strange symbols, shattered mirrors, and spiraling circles, as if drawn by hands long gone. Kai leaned against the wall, his breathing labored, his cracked skin visible under the dim flashlight beam. The black substance had spread, crawling up his arm like living veins, and each movement caused a drop to fall, hitting the stone floor with a faint drip like rain. Elena tore a strip from her coat, trying to wipe his wounds, but the black only spread, subtly seeping into her skin. "Kai, we have to do something," she whispered, voice trembling with exhaustion and fear. "You said there's a way to close the crack. Tell me." Kai lifted his head, his cloudy eyes still glinting with faint hope. "This cave. It's where Tord began. The symbols on the walls are the key, an ancient ritual to repel the wraiths. But it requires true memories, not the false ones the curse creates," he coughed, a black drop falling from his lips. "You have to remember Anna, Elena, remember clearly. To fight what it's planting in your head." They began the ritual immediately. As the darkness outside the cave gathered, the wraith's whispers echoing like howling wind, Kai guided her to draw a circle with blood from a cut on his hand, not hers, as he knew the curse had infected her deeper. Elena repeated the strange words he whispered, her voice echoing in the damp cave. In that moment, true memories of Anna flooded back, her laughter at the airport, her small hand clutching Elena's, and then the horrific void when she vanished. But mixed in were false memories, Anna smiling from Torenza's glass city, waving from a warped tower. Elena shook her head, trying to dispel them. But the whispers grew stronger. "Sis, this is the real home." The ritual was interrupted by a screech from the cave's entrance. Kai stood, though his body was frail, and pushed Elena behind him. "They're here. Run, find Reyes, he'll know the rest." But Elena refused. "No, we're together." They bolted from the cave. But the mountains had changed, trees writhed like living mirrors, reflecting countless distorted versions of them. They ran toward an abandoned airport, nearby a Cold War relic hidden in the valley, which Reyes had mentioned as another gateway. The airport was desolate, with cracked runways and a terminal full of broken glass. But Elena hoped it was a temporary safe haven. Asterisk, as they entered the terminal, the air shifted. The large, old mirrors on the walls, relics from another era, began to shimmer, reflecting not reality, but horrifying illusions. Elena looked into one and saw herself, But this version held a knife, blood dripping from the blade, with Anna's lifeless body on the floor. "No!" Elena screamed, turning away, but laughter echoed from the mirror. Myra's laughter. "You killed your sister, Elena. In Torenza. You're the predator." The illusion didn't just watch, it stepped out. And Elena, with white eyes, lunging at her, Kai leapt in, wielding a shard of broken glass as a weapon, stabbing the dark illusion. "Don't look. It's not real," he shouted, voice hoarse. The fight was chaos in the mirror-filled terminal. Each shattered mirror sprayed sharp fragments like rain, and from the cracks, black liquid oozed. Crawling across the floor like snakes, Kai defeated one illusion. But another wraith attacked, enveloping him. He screamed as the black sucked his memories, flashes of his Torenza family fading in his eyes. Elena rushed to help, smashing a large mirror to sever the wraith. But it was too late. Kai fell, his body partially melting, his arm vanishing into the void. "Elena, don't let it take you," he whispered before being fully pulled into a broken mirror. Disappearing in a horrific crack, Elena knelt by the scorched mark on the floor, tears streaming, but there was no time to grieve. The mirrors around her vibrated, and from them, Mira appeared, not an illusion, but her real manifestation, smiling with that familiar smile. "You saw Torenza through his eyes, now come home." Elena stood, gripping a glass shard, ready to fight, but she knew Kai had left a clue. In his final moment, he'd whispered, "The ritual. Finish it at the church. Reyes, if he was alive, might be waiting there." Fueled by Kai's loss, Elena fled the abandoned airport, the darkness chasing her heels. But her resolve was stronger than ever. The curse could take memories, but it hadn't yet taken her soul. The faint crescent moon filtered through the shattered, stained glass windows of the abandoned church. Standing alone on the outskirts of New York, not far from JFK Airport, Elena Voss stepped through the rotting wooden door, its creak echoing like whispers from a distant past. The air inside was heavy, a mix of mold and old candle smoke, and the dusty pews seemed to await a ghostly sermon. She'd driven all night from the Alps, carrying the pain of Kai's loss and his final clue. The ritual. Finish it at the church. Reyes, if he was alive, would be here, the priest who led the supernatural group. Now a faint hope in the tightening nightmare. Elena called softly, "Reyes? Tom?" Her voice echoed in the vast space, but only the wind through broken windows answered. She ventured deeper, her flashlight sweeping over distorted saint statues, their faces smiling in the dark on the main altar. She saw a sign, a chalk-drawn circle with symbols like those in the Alps, cave-shattered mirrors and spirals. Reyes emerged from the shadows behind the altar, his face gaunt, eyes red from sleepless days. "Voss," he whispered, voice hoarse. "You made it, Tom." He didn't. The curse took him on the way here, Elena nodded. Heart heavy, she told him about Kai, their escape in the Alps, and how he sacrificed himself. Reyes listened, clutching his rosary. Kai from Torenza. He was right. This ritual is the only way to temporarily repel the wraiths, but it requires sacrifice, true memories, and perhaps part of your soul. They had no time to hesitate. Reyes led her to the circle, lighting black candles around its perimeter, and began chanting ancient Latin mixed with the strange words Kai had whispered. Elena stood in the circle, holding the Torenza passport, feeling the black substance inside it pulse as if alive. The ritual began calmly, Rhea's chants echoing like prayers. Elena focused on true memories of Anna. Afternoons playing in the park, her clear laughter, and the pain of her disappearance. But then, the air shifted. The wind howled louder through the windows, and from the saint statues, black tears began to flow, dripping like blood. Reyes continued chanting, his voice rising. But Elena felt an invisible pull. False memories surged. Stronger than ever, she saw Anna not lost at the airport, but waiting in Torenza, waving from a glass tower. "Sis, come home." Then disaster struck. Reyes stopped abruptly, clutching his chest. Black liquid seeping from his mouth. "It's in me," he whispered, his eyes flashing white. His body cracked like shattered porcelain, and the black crawled across the floor toward the circle. Elena screamed, trying to pull him out, but Reyes pushed her. "Finish the ritual. Don't stop." He fell, his body melting, the black sucking his memories, flashes of his mother's disappearance fading in his eyes. Elena continued chanting, voice trembling, but the curse fought back. From every direction, statues, windows, the floor, whispers rose in unison. "Anna, save me, sis, come home." The whispers weren't just sound, they took form. Crawling like black smoke, wrapping around Elena. She felt her memories being pulled out, piece by piece. Anna's face fading, her laughter growing distant. Reyes, in his final moment before dissolving completely, whispered, "Your sister. Anna's been trapped in Torenza since she was a child. The curse used her as bait. You must go in to save her." Then he vanished, leaving a scorched mark on the church floor. Elena knelt, the chalk circle now smeared with black. The ritual unfinished, she was alone, utterly isolated, with whispers now echoing from her own mind. "Anna, sis." They were no longer cries for help, they were invitations, pulling her into the void. Elena stood, clutching Reyes' rosary, refusing to break. The ritual had revealed the truth. To save Anna, she must enter Torenza through a crack, but the curse had infected her deeply, and the abandoned church was now a maze, its walls whispering her name. Elena fled outside, running to her car, but the darkness followed, and she knew the nightmare was only escalating. The stars twinkled through gray clouds over New York sky. But Elena Voss had no mind to look up. She drove away from the abandoned church, clutching Reyes' rosary, the last remnant of an ally who'd vanished before her eyes. The whispers still echoed in her head, no longer just Anna's cries, but a chaotic chorus. Harlan, Layla, Kai, and Reyes' names blending into a haunting refrain, pulling her into an abyss. Reyes had revealed a horrifying truth before dying. Anna's disappearance wasn't random. She'd been pulled into Torenza as a child, held as bait to lure people like Elena. "You must go in to save her." His words lingered, more a curse than advice. Elena didn't know where to start, but clues led her back to JFK Airport, where it all began. The airport at midnight was desolate, its long corridors stretching endlessly under flickering fluorescent lights like soulless eyes. She slipped in through a staff-only side door, avoiding security cameras with familiar paths from her time working here. The storage archive in the basement, where Harlan had vanished, seemed to await her. The air was colder than ever, and as Elena entered, the metal shelves trembled slightly, as if breathing. She found a large mirror in the corner, the one Harlan was pulled into. It was no longer ordinary glass. Its surface rippled like water, and from it, whispers rose clearly. "Come home, Elena. Anna's waiting." She took a deep breath. recalling the unfinished church ritual, clutching the rosary. Elena repeated the ancient words Reyes had taught, her voice echoing in the cramped space. The chalk circle she hastily drew on the floor began to glow, and the mirror vibrated fiercely. A crack opened, not a physical break, but a warped space where light bent and colors inverted. Elena felt an invisible pull, like a cold hand dragging her in. "Anna," she whispered, stepping forward. The real world dissolved behind her, and she fell into the void in endless free fall. Accompanied by flashing memories, Mira's smiling face, Kai's melting body, and Anna waving from afar when Elena landed, she stood in a strange city, Torenza, where the passport's hologram was a mere shadow of its reality. Towering glass spires writhed like living trees, reflecting countless versions of her, and Elena grinning with white eyes, and Elena weeping by Anna's grave, and an Elena. Like Mira whispering the curse, the air was heavy, smelling of burnt metal and filled with unified whispers from every direction. As if the city were alive and storytelling, the glass-paved streets crunched underfoot, each step echoing, and from cracks in the ground, black liquid seeped, crawling like dark threads. Elena ventured deeper, heart pounding, calling, "Anna, where are you?" But instead of her sister, Mira appeared not suddenly, but gradually. Like an image forming in a mirror, she stood in a glass maze, her gray coat fluttering in an invisible wind, her familiar smile now tinged with regret. "Welcome home, Elena," Mira whispered, her voice echoing from every glass pane. "How long did it take you to realize? Torenza isn't the enemy, it's where you belong." Anna understood that long ago. Mira waved, and from a nearby mirror, Anna's image stepped out, her little sister, still as young as the day she vanished, but with white eyes and a twisted smile. "Sis," Anna whispered, her voice sweet but chilling. "I've been waiting for you forever." Elena stepped back, her heart breaking. But she knew this was an illusion, the curse manipulating her mind. "You're not real. You're not Anna." She lunged, slamming her hand against the mirror. But the glass didn't break, it swallowed her hand, pulling her into a false memory. She saw herself as Mira, dissolving in JFK's interrogation room, then reborn in Torenza, feeding on victims' memories. Pain overwhelmed her, making Elena collapse. But a familiar voice cut through the darkness. "Elena, don't listen to them." It was Kai, or his shadow, stepping from another mirror, his arm partially dissolved, but his eyes still bright. "It's me. Take my hand, we have to escape." Elena hesitated, heart racing. Was Kai real or another trap? He reached out, and when she touched him, a cold chill spread, but also a familiar warmth from the Alps. "Kai, you died," she whispered, tears falling. "Not dead," he replied, voice trembling. "Torenza doesn't kill, it keeps. But if you stay too long, you'll become like Mira." They ran through the glass maze, with Myra and Anna's illusions chasing, whispers chanting, "Stay, come home." Each mirror they shattered sprayed black liquid, crawling across the floor. And Elena felt her body cracking, a small fissure on her arm. Oozing black, they reached the maze's center, a plaza with a massive mirror reflecting countless dimensions. Kai stopped, pushing Elena toward it. "Go through. Back to your world. I'll hold them off." But as Elena approached, Kai changed, his eyes turned white, and Mira's smile curled on his lips. The Kai was an illusion, and Elena was trapped. the black liquid crawling up her legs, draining her memories. She screamed, smashing a small glass shard from Rhea's rosary, creating a tiny crack to escape. But before vanishing, she heard Anna's true voice, not an illusion, whispering from the depths. "Sis, save me." Elena awoke in the airport storage room, body aching, but the curse had dug deeper. She knew to save Anna, she must face Torenza's queen, an ancient entity Reyes had mentioned. But now she was alone, and the darkness was spreading everywhere. The dim glow from Torenza's warped glass shimmered like soulless eyes, illuminating Elena Voss' pale face as she awoke in JFK's storage archive. Her body ached as if pierced by thousands of tiny glass shards, and her arm, where the first crack appeared, now oozed a small drop of black liquid, falling to the floor with a soft, ominous drip. The mirror's crack had closed behind her, but the curse lingered, seeping deeper into her mind, whispering sweet temptations. "Come back. Elena, Anna's waiting." She shook her head, trying to banish Kai's image or his illusion dissolving in the glass maze. But Rhea's truth haunted her. To save Anna, she must return to Torenza, this time with a clearer plan. Sacrifice memories to escape, but what to sacrifice to save her sister? Elena wasn't alone for long. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, an unknown number, but a familiar voice answered when she picked up. "Voss, it's Reyes. No, I'm not dead." "Not entirely." His voice was faint, as if echoing from a distant place. "The curse took part of me, but I'm still here, in the in-between. Listen, to enter Torenza again, you need a hotspot, the abandoned airport in the Alps Kai mentioned, but this time, bring something true from Anna, a keepsake. It'll anchor you so you don't get lost." Elena rummaged through her bag, finding a small bracelet, Anna's gift before she vanished. With a heart-shaped glass charm, she clutched it, its familiar warmth pushing back the chill of the black substance. The journey back to the Alps was rushed, Elena driving a rented car through winding mountain roads, the wind howling like Mira's laughter. The abandoned airport loomed under the moonlight, its cracked runways and glass-filled terminal seemingly waiting for her. She stepped inside, holding the bracelet, and repeated the cave ritual, ancient words echoing in the silent space. The large mirror in the terminal center vibrated, and the crack opened again, pulling her into the void. This time, the free fall brought pain-true memories of Anna being torn out, piece by piece. As if the curse were testing her, Torenza greeted her with a freezing wind, carrying the burnt metal smell and unified whispers. The glass city was darker now, its writhing towers like dead trees, reflecting countless versions of Elena, each crying or laughing maniacally. She ventured deeper into the maze, calling, "Anna, I'm here." Her voice echoed, and from the darkness, Void Wraiths rose, formless black masses moving like smoke. Whispering her name to drain her memories, Elena dodged, using the bracelet as a shield. The heart-shaped glass flashed, repelling them temporarily. Then, at the maze's center, Anna appeared, her sister, standing by a shimmering glass lake, her long hair flowing and her smile innocent. "Sis," Anna whispered, her voice sweet but echoing from the void. Elena rushed forward, tears streaming, but when she touched her, the horrifying truth hit. Anna's skin was cold, and black liquid seeped from her mouth. Anna wasn't a victim, she'd become a wraith, a manifestation of the curse, her eyes flashing white. "I've been waiting forever. Sis, Torenza is home, stay with me." Anna lunged, her hands like sharp glass shards, trying to pull Elena into the lake, where memories were devoured, Elena stepped back. Heartbreaking, you're not her. This isn't you. She fought, smashing the bracelet against Anna, the heart-shaped glass shattering with a clear ring. Repelling the wraith temporarily, but then Mira emerged from the darkness. Smiling calmly. You can't save her, Elena. Anna's been part of us for years. Let go. Mira summoned a swarm of wraiths. Black masses crawling from every direction, wrapping around Elena, draining her true memories. Park afternoons. Anna's laughter and the pain of loss, Elena screamed. Feeling her body crack, her legs fissuring, oozing black in a desperate moment. Elena recalled Rhea's words, sacrifice to save. She sacrificed her true memories, not the false ones, but Anna's real ones, to create an escape crack. She whispered a cursed incantation, letting memories pour out like blood. And the wraiths dove to feed. Anna, I love you, she whispered one last time before the memories faded. The maze shook, mirrors shattering en masse, and Elena was pulled out of Torenza. Falling back to the abandoned airport, she awoke, body aching. But the curse had weakened, the black on her arms stopped spreading. But in exchange, Anna's memories were now faint. Like a distant dream, Elena stood, heart empty but resolve intact. She'd saved her sister, or at least freed her from being the curse's bait, but Torenza still called. And she knew the end hadn't come. The weak morning sunlight filtered through the curtains of Elena Voss' queen's apartment, illuminating her weary face as she slowly opened her eyes. Her body felt heavy, as if still caught between two worlds, the real world with its bustling streets outside, and Torenza with its warped glass towers haunting her dreams. The crack on her arm had healed, leaving a faint scar, but the curse lingered, flowing like an underground stream, waiting to surface. Anna's memories were now distant, faded like an old photograph. But the pain remained sharp. Her sister had been saved, or at least freed from the curse's bait roll. But at the cost of part of Elena's soul, she sat up, her hand unconsciously touching the broken bracelet, the heart-shaped glass now mere fragments, yet still carrying the last warmth of true memories. The apartment was unnaturally quiet. No street noise, no birdsong outside. Elena stepped into the living room, and her heart clenched when she saw a Torenza passport on the table, not the one she'd carried, but a new one with Elena Voss printed clearly on the first page, the shattered mirror flag glinting in the sunlight. Impossible, she whispered, hands trembling as she flipped through it. The hologram showed her standing in the glass city, smiling with white eyes. The curse hadn't just brought her back, it had made her part of Torenza, an intruder in her own world, outside the window. New York began to change, skyscrapers subtly writhed, as if bent by an invisible wind. And from cracks in the pavement, black liquid seeped, crawling slowly like dark threads. Elena rushed to the balcony, breathing the air. But the wind carried unified whispers. Come home. Come home. Below, the crowd moved as usual. But some stopped abruptly, their bodies cracking, melting into black pools before the horrified onlookers. A crack opened in the street, swallowing the car, and from it, black shadows poured, spreading like fog. The city, the real world, was dissolving, piece by piece. Replaced by Torenza. Ella turned back inside, heart pounding. But the front door had changed. It was now a large mirror, reflecting not her apartment, but Torenza's glass maze. She stepped back, but from the mirror, a figure emerged. Anna, her sister, with a wide smile and white eyes. Sis, Anna whispered. her voice sweet but echoing from the void. "You're back. I've been waiting forever." Elena shook her head, tears falling, but she knew this wasn't the real Anna, but the curse's final manifestation, an invitation to complete the replacement. Anna's figure reached out, and when it touched Elena, a chilling cold spread, fading her remaining memories of the real world. Elena looked into the mirror. Her reflection stared back, but her eyes gradually turned white, and Mira's smile curled on her lips. "Welcome home," she whispered to herself, voice echoing. The curse didn't end, it transformed, spreading further, and Elena was now its gatekeeper, accepting her fate to protect what remained. But deep within, a faint hope flickered, perhaps in other dimensions, like Zurith or unknown places, she could find a way to break it completely. The city outside continued to dissolve, but Elena smiled. The darkness had knocked, and she had opened the door.